Welcome to Loving Me Before I Love You with Tammy Nicole, the podcast dedicated to you loving and putting yourself first. Others have come first in your life for years, and you know it's time for that to change. You're about to be empowered to set healthy boundaries, confidently have hard conversations, unapologetically put yourself first, and live the peaceful life you deserve. Remember, self-love is essential, and loving yourself sets the stage for every other love in your life. So get ready to embrace self-love like never before with your host, Coach Tammy Nicole.
All right, y'all, it's Transformation Tuesday over at Loving Me Before I Love You. And today is the month of October. This episode is really actually is dear to my heart because for the month of October, y'all know we celebrate, and I don't even like to say the word celebrate, I'm going to say we acknowledge two big things. We acknowledge breast cancer and we acknowledge domestic violence. One area of domestic violence we very rarely talk about is the trauma that children experience by either witnessing, being a part of a domestic violence circumstance. Now, this actually hits home for me. It hits home for me because I have been a victim, and I don't even want to say a victim because I'm not a victim, I'm a victor, but I have been involved with domestic violence previous. And in being involved with it, my children technically was exposed to it. Now, did they see any fighting? Did they see me being physically abused? No. Did they see the aftermath? Yes. And could they have a traumatic experience from it? They could. Because trauma is built on you as an individual and not just the outcome or the activity that you experience. So what's trauma to me may not be trauma to you. And it can be the exact same thing. So a lot of times we don't understand that trauma is not a blanket statement. It is not a definition that just kind of like, oh, I thought that was traumatizing, so you traumatized too. No, I cannot determine that you had a trauma experience based upon me feeling like that was traumatic. So it is always important to ask how a person feels about what they have experienced prior to you slapping a trauma title, label, or what have you to their experiences. But children should be acknowledged when they have been exposed.
Absolutely.
Children should be acknowledged when they have been exposed. And so today, we're going to talk about turning pain into power, healing from childhood trauma of domestic abuse. Now, I actually have a returning guest with me. Her name is Kia. Y'all might remember her from Life Detox way back in April, about the beginning of April, but she's back. And she's back for good reason, because we discovered that we have a connection when it comes to this topic. So, Kia, welcome back to the show. I'm so excited to have you, girl.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Now, y'all, I know you heard my little opening, but it's very important to acknowledge kids that have been exposed to domestic abuse. They may not have been abused themselves, but they may have watched a parent experience the abuse. They may have been, a real witness, and not just a witness because they're seeing the aftermath because mama is in a room crying all the time, but they could see the physical aftermaths, black eyes, bruised arms, cuts, bruises, or they can actually experience watching mom being thrown across the room, cussed out, slapped. It doesn't always have to be physical, but it's just the abuse itself and it being done within a domestic experience, which means it's happening where? In their four walls, where they lay their heads, where they're supposed to have peace, where they're supposed to have support, love, and growth. And they're experiencing turmoil, pressure, verbal toxicity, etc. But I think that we tend to say that they're kids, overlook it. Kids are resilient, they'll bounce back from it, and we don't take into an account how it affects them when they become an adult. So let's dive in.
What part of the ocean are we getting ready to head into?
Hey, you want to go to the deep end of the sea, or you want to start off in the shallow waters and walk our way through it? It
I
doesn't
mean,
matter.
honestly, I just think this is one of those topics where it's not gentle with us, so we don't have to be gentle with it. It's one of those things. You know how they say, I'm going to hold your hand when I say this? We're not holding hands for this topic. We've been holding hands long enough around it. So it's really time for us to just sit around a round table and we're just going to let it all out.
I'm with you. Let's go.
I think some things that we need to understand when it comes to domestic violence is there is no social class. Most definitely in the Black community, we oftentimes like to exempt those of status, those of money, which is really unfair to the stories that they ultimately have to contribute to the community. Unlike those with status, I wasn't. Um, Grew up I was raised by a single mother, grew up really well. For me, my abuse started in my teenage years. I was 16 years old when I entered my first, and I didn't necessarily enter it to be abused. He was an older guy. You know, we were dating. I'd already had a child, and I thought he was going to be something different. He had a car, job, little money coming in. So I literally left. When you're 15, all the grass it's untethered. I mean, it's so I can't say I left bad for good. I didn't. I left what I started for something that I thought would be better, and it really wasn't. Um, when you're in your teenage years, you really don't have the language. You barely have the language for what you're feeling and what you're going through. I remember I was a mother at the age of 15, pregnant when I was 14, a mother at the age of 15. And then here I am dating this older guy thinking that life is getting ready to be grand. And it started off grand, but it wasn't until the marijuana, the drugs, and the liquor was introduced. That's a dangerous combination, and I think it can make anyone a volcano because you don't know what's going to come out when someone is under the influence of something. We talk. Interesting enough, they call the liquor store. They call them spirits. And they call them that for a reason because there's literally a deposit going inside of the body. It is a liquid deposit, and you don't know what's going to come out of that person. Um, Most people always say that a drunk never tells a lie. And in most cases, they don't because that spirit is giving them courage. It's allowing them to feel like I can say whatever I want to say. But it also gives them courage to do things that they feel are okay and acceptable that they probably wouldn't do sober. And that's not to make an excuse for it because abuse is abuse, whether you are sober or under the influence of a spirit. No one deserves to be impacted by that. Um, the thing I don't think I really understood is how that affected my daughter. Um, it wasn't her father, but he was very present in her life. Like we lived together. I moved out of my mom's house when I was 18. And so I was living with this man, kind of secluded. So no one really knew what was going on. I did have a good friend. Her name was Teresa. She was my safe haven. When we would get into an argument and he would make his threats, if I can't have you, can't nobody else have you, I would leave the house and I would go to a payphone and I would leave a detailed message. I would say, hey, Teresa, tonight we got into an argument. You're not answering your phone. I don't know if you go. We had a spot that she would come and pick me up from. And I would stay there for about an extra 10, 15 minutes because this was before cell phones. So I literally had to leave the house to go to a payphone. I would stay there for about an extra 10, 15 minutes. Sometimes she would show up, sometimes she wouldn't. But she had a white chase, and that was my place of refuge. That's where I slept when I needed to be rescued. It was like peaceful, it was oversized, and it could just literally hold me and allow me to release whatever it was I was feeling. But my message was very detailed. It was Raam and I got into it. he made this threat. If anything happens to me, make sure that you play this. I literally outlined everything for her. And oftentimes, when we don't have police reports to go with things, that's what makes it hard when it comes time for his story versus her story in the event that there's a death. Because what do you have? What facts do you have? And so often these men play self defense. And as ridiculous as it sounds to us as women who have been abused, the ultimate goal of the prosecutor and the defense is to bring up reasonable doubt for the jurors.
Yeah.
And in most cases, any ounce of reasonable doubt, he's going to get off with self defense, or he's going to take a plea deal, or there's just so many ways out because we are not as protected as we should be. We say it often, we quote it often, we share it on every social media outlet. But sometimes when it comes to matters against women, we as women are our own worst enemies. How many times have you heard a story and you read the comments and it is women? She's so stupid. She's so dumb. She should have spoke up. Well, it's not always that easy.
It's not.
Just
It's not always that easy. I think because I myself can admit to, prior to having the experience, saying, why would you stay? Why would you, you know, subject yourself to that level of treatment, when in reality it really boils back down to who you are, period, right? So it's like, if you are a person that always forgiving, if you're a person that's like, always seeing the good into somebody even when they mess up, you are the perfect individual to have the experience, because you're always going to say, when they come back to apologize, you say, you right, you are sorry. Okay, cool. We'll try it again. And then when it happens again, or if there's a long space in between it happening, then it's like, okay, he didn't really mean to do that. And, he was under a lot of stress, and you start excusing his behavior just so that you can justify your staying. And ultimately, as much as I never blame the person that experienced the situation, the abuse itself, but I will say this: there's both parties play a part. I take accountability for the part that I played, because there were signs, there were things that I should have jumped and left and was like, and say, I'm worth more, and there's no way. You know, I did the stain because of what I didn't want others to say in the leaving. Then I found other reasons of why staying was okay. And yeah, no, ultimately it rested on me because it was my choice. I wasn't like, prior to the actual event, the catapult event that took place, I wasn't like, oh, you have to stay with this person. You have to make them your boyfriend. You have to X, Y, and Z. Like, there were other signs prior to us becoming serious that said, don't go get serious, you know. But there was other stuff happening in my life that said, no, get serious, because, it's here. This is the opportunity. This is like what you want or need. And a lot of times we, as women, settle for less, and because we don't think we deserve the best.
I agree with that to a certain extent. So the downside to stay or to leave is 70 at when you are trying to leave, 70% of those women, that's when they take charge, and that's when the murders happen or the abuse escalates. And at that point, it's when she's had enough. Then that other side to that is, well, now roles are kind of reversing, because there was a time where the man was the breadwinner, the opportunities for financial success in the job force. And even though we're still not as compatible as they are when it comes to that, we are still excelling in some areas because we are putting out ourselves out there. We're going for those CFO positions, CEO positions, those executive positions, those positions where is I'm doing the hiring, I'm doing the firing. And so there was a time that women couldn't afford to leave. And the men knew that. The men knew that. They knew that I make, because I mean, if we want to be realistic, the average $100,000 household for a black family, that was far and few in between. It was typically the people who had the factory money, those men who were working 12 hours days, long days, weekend overtime. So that made them up to the upwards 80, 90,000 to her. In most cases, she had a degree of some sort. But the average teacher, they don't make money. Social workers don't make money. Therapists don't make money. And before nursing became the big business, nurses really didn't make a lot of money. The nurses, and no shade to you nurses, but the nurses who did the real work, who everything wasn't by a wine, who was really taking that blood pressure with the real blood pressure cup, those who was for real using the for real thermometer, not the wine, they didn't get paid what these nurses get paid now. And so women had a major disadvantage. And then in most cases, is I got these 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. How am I gonna do this? How am I gonna juggle this? You have this set in sports. He's able to do this. He's able to fill in hair. There were so many missing pieces that we couldn't put the puzzle together. And so while leaving is what everybody wants to know. Leaving is not always safe. Because in most cases, when women leave, now the family is left to plan the funeral. Now kids are left to pick: am I on mommy's side? Am I on daddy's side? Who do I go see? He's getting ready to go to jail. Do I go visit him? How do I work on forgiving him? My mom is no longer coming back. Kids are put in compromising situations because, one, a lack of self-control, because oftentimes we try to blame domestic violence as if it's God's will. It's never the will of God. God doesn't, he's sinless. It's never his will that women are abused. And then let's take it to the account of the number of women who are raped in these relationships. Nobody understands that these two go in tandem. Every pregnant woman that you see every married woman that you see pregnant, she may not be happy. She probably didn't want that. She probably wanted to go to bed that night. And some grown man who couldn't exercise self-control didn't understand that no meant no. But then she also didn't have a place to go to because he's a deacon at the church. He's the pastor. He sits on the city council. He's a principal at a school. He's the superintendent. He's a doctor, God forbid. Don't let him be a police officer or a lawyer or a judge. Where's her protection at? She has none. Who is she going to go to? How's she going to go call the popo? And he is the popo. And if he is the popo, you better believe he got good lawyer money. He has good judge money.
He don't even need it because he got lawyer friends that's gonna do it pro
And
bono.
he has cops that are going to come out there and be like, look, I know. And at that point is, I know y'all had a rough night and a major disagreement, but we're going to ask you two to go back in the house and see if you can work this out. And then you have that group of women who we are in this extremely sensitive time for Black people. You don't know if I call the police, is he going to die?
That
If
part.
I call the police, am I going to die? It could literally be life or death for either one of us when the police come out. And then the other side of that is domestic violence calls are the most dangerous calls for police. So everybody is coming with heat and aggression. Like, it's just so much to unpack. And then let's talk about the fact that a lot of police officers are not properly trained to handle this. They're going in there hostile because all they know is I want to go home. So now you have this battered woman with this man. And let's be honest, most men are naturally larger than women. And he's in your face yelling one of details, and you're looking at him like, sir, don't yell. At this point, you're sounding like he did. No, I'm not about to really open up to you. I don't know what happened. I don't feel safe. You're no longer making me feel protected. I called you for safety and shelter, and I'm not getting that. There are so many aspects to talk about when it comes to domestic violence. And again, how
Yep.
we are left to not feel safe in these particular situations.
He's been
We
pretty
don't
safe.
feel safe. We don't feel safe by his family, our family, the police. who we literally have to be the protectors of each other. We have to start building our own villages. We have to start coming to the rescue and showing up to these court cases for our sisters in droves. Just like you show up for a baby shower. If sis call you and say, listen, this is the 15th time he's put his hands on me. What they say, we ride it down. Regulators, mount, it's time. It is time for us to stand and advocate. Go to these courthouses. Go to your state houses. It is time for legislation to change for these issues. And it starts with us.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And you just mentioned being afraid from for the families and not feeling supported. There is, I think a lot of that is very sad that you don't have the support system, because I felt like I didn't have it either. And it's not, like I see my family members going to listen to this message saying, wait, what you mean? You didn't say nothing. You didn't reach out. But you understand your level of support based upon your level of experience with people on the regular basis. So if I call you for regular things and you don't show up, the likelihood of you showing up for emergency is slim and none in my mind. I'm not by no means saying that you definitely wouldn't show up, but I'm not necessarily willing to try it because you didn't show up for regular stuff. And you may say that regular stuff didn't really matter. It wasn't as important, but I would show up for the important things. And it's like, but how do I know that? If
Because
you
you're not
show up for
consistent.
the simple things, I don't know that you can show up for the emergent. And so that's why I'm not reaching out for the emergent. It's more so like we test where we can lay or lean in regular life. And I think that people fail to understand that piece. So when you wondering, well, why didn't you call me? Why didn't you reach out? Because when I call you to simply go pick my kids up from school because I'm stuck on a meeting or I'm stuck at an appointment, and you say, oh no, because it's inconvenient, then why in the world would I call you? Because he beat me.
And at that point, it just makes me feel like you trying to be borderline messy. Because I mean, who you trying to spill this tea to? Because if you and like that is a very valid point. If you can't be there when it's raining, I can't trust you in this storm. I cannot trust you in this storm because to me, at that point, it's almost like you coming to be messy to say, girl, I told you everything ain't good over there. She don't call no other time. Or to turn it to that. She don't call no other time, but she called me when Rodney was beating on that tail. No, I do call you other times. You don't show up. I called you when Rodney was beating on me because I thought this would be the one time you came through in the clutch. But here you are consistently being absent and void in my life.
Yeah.
And another thing that we sometimes those people, it's almost like we try to depend on people who we have longevity relationships with. And sometimes that's when we got to let those new friends tap in. Because I am convinced that God is sending us friends who are healed or healing and they understand, like, look, this is something that I have to be there for. I need to be present. They make the time. They have the mental capacity. They do. And they're going to hold you accountable.
The other part, though, that I would say is we need levels of friendship that are genuine and authentic. And I think that the parts of knowing who the heck you are and them knowing who the heck they are is super important, because when we actually forge these friendships, most of the time, not all the time, we don't really be ourselves. We find some level of connection due to let's say familiarity or things that connect, like, oh man, she likes fashion, I like fashion, oh girl, kiki, and we kiki about the fashion stuff, right? And then we start hanging out, right? We go, oh girl, so and so having this, at this event, let's go do that, let's go do this rooftop, let's go do. So now we're like going to hang out, but we're going to hang out off of things that bring common interests. When it comes to really sharing who the heck you are, most of the time we don't do that. We stay surface based upon entertainment, fun, excitement, interaction outside of the house. You get down and out for whatever, you'll probably say, "Oh, girl, yeah, I'm just not up to it today. I'll call you." But that person doesn't go, "Wait, no, what's really going on? Like, who the heck are you? Like, how do you handle the adversity? How do you like? What do you consider to be adversity?" Like, we don't go that deep and we don't open up that well because we don't take the time to get to know the person. We just have this common ground of fun. So then when what's the word I want to use? When crap hit the fan, we can say. So when stuff hit the fan and things are going awry and they're not going, in the normalcy of how things were, like when your money start acting funny and, the kids is acting out of whack and your family is, losing their doggone mind over blah, 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 or you lose a loved one or, learning to be visible to people you don't know is very difficult. But we
You
don't
know
take
what?
friendship serious enough to show our real self. We just show the stuff that they like. Oh, they like that? Oh, okay, cool. We can vibe off that. Oh, okay, cool. So let's go hang with that, and we hang with that until that's not available. And when it's not available, we shut them off. Do whatever we do in the background. And then once we get our life back together where we can be happy again, where we can, kiki, then we jump back into it with them. And it's like, oh, girl, that was nothing.
You know what? I spent years doing that. And 2020 was hard for me. Um, my daughter's father was being released from jail. My daughter's father is also the person responsible for my son's death. My son passed away at 3 years old. And so all I needed was a reason to isolate. So then COVID came in and isolate good. You say less. Everything virtual. That all I needed was a reason. And so I had those friendships. And so when I tell you my depression was so bad, my phone was on do not disturb for 2.5 years. I like cold turkey my friends. I had two friends that I would respond to their messages because their messages simply said, "I love you." But those are my introvert friends. And I never, ever, ever ignored their messages because I understand I'm an extrovert in every way, like the life of the party. And I understand that it probably took a lot for them just to send those 3 words. So I responded to every message. And so for a long time, my friendships were that way until I started therapy again and I was honest about with my friends about everything. And then when they realized like we literally almost lost her, like she was good with this being the end during COVID. And I struggled really, really bad. So now, and this is to encourage women who feel like they can't have that, you can. But some things you want to do, you want to kind of test that water. Cast something out there and see what gets out, what goes around, what gets back to you. And I'm not talking about nothing major. Make it something small. That's how you can always see who gonna be the real fish that you can go ahead and cast your stuff on. One of the young ladies who ended up in that group was a young lady. She said, "Well, why did you stop coming to church?" I said, "When life gets hard for me, church is never a safe place for me. So I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to be around the saints because oftentimes we over spiritualize things. Oh, well, it was just God's will, and acts of sin are never God's will. How about we just say, he or she failed to exercise self control. I apologize. You are experiencing this. I empathize. I sympathize with you. That's where we fail at because people don't understand that Jesus was a very sympathetic and empathetic person. Jesus didn't experience a lot of the things that they experienced in the Bible, but yet he had enough sympathy and empathy that it was, oh, I want you better. That's the part of Jesus that we don't tap into. We stay there for the miracles and the healing, but we don't understand that Jesus, he was a thugged out marshmallow. Jesus was about that life, but he was
All
soft
day.
when he needed to be. And so,
All day.
picking those friends comes with some challenges because you always wanted to be your A1s from day one, and it's not going to be them all the time. It's going to be new people. Again, you have to find people who understand the concept of healing. Because if I don't understand the concept of healing, I don't understand the concept of you forgiving. I don't understand the concept of you advocating for yourself. I don't understand your boundaries that you have set up. I want you to always be available for me. Forget the fact that you can't be. But people who are on the other side of healing understand, you know what? She doesn't have capacity today. She's
Sure.
struggling with some things.
Sure.
I need to respect this boundary. She does not want me to call after this time. She does not want me to just show up. Okay. She told me that she does not drink wine when life is lifing for her. So let me take her flowers. Let me take her a meal. Let me not take her this bottle. We're not about to get ready to pop the bottle back. We're getting ready to sit here. Let me take her a journal. Let me take her a pen. We have to learn to cultivate those relationships by telling people what it is that you need. Listen, I don't need wine in this season. What I need is a journal. What I need is my jazz playlist and a meal if you have the capacity. And
Right.
every once in a while, if you're at liberty for a weekly check-in, let's do that. Like I go out once a week. I have a friend, we go out to dinner once a week, and that's how we catch up. We check in throughout the day. Like if she don't get a reel or two or a TikTok or two from me, she like, hold on. You good? Because she understands. You got to get those people who get you. Healing is messy. It's complicated, but it's not. It's complicated to those who have never tried, who have never experienced it, and to those who enjoy being bitter and broken.
Wow, today's episode is a good one. I know you're enjoying it, and we'll get back to it shortly. Just wanted to take a quick break to let you know that Tammy would love for you to share any questions, comments, or topic ideas you have with her. All you have to do is send them to her in an email to podcast@IamTammyNicole.com. Thank you, and without further ado, let's get back into today's show.
Yeah. The other thing though, real friendships is just like a real relationship, right? Like the biggest difference is the romance. Outside of that, it's the same relationship,
You going
right?
to communicate. You going to
Everything. And
sacrifice.
you want someone to know you, right? So I think about it like when you dating a guy, you want him to know you to the point of when you answer that phone and your hello is different, that he's like, hey, you good? And you to be like, yeah, why? Oh, your tone sounded blah blah blah. So it don't seem, you know what I mean? Because he knows you, because he's learning you, because he's understanding how you move. Your friendship should be the same. It should be to the point where it's like, yeah, like you said, if I hadn't sent you a TikTok or said, hey, how you doing in 3 days, you good?
We calling it a
Like,
squad because
we about to pull up because
what's
you
going
ain't
on?
sent
What you
nothing.
need?
Correct. But just simply being available and understanding how that person moves is super important. And to me, when we talk about turning pain into power, that is where you do that in when you can be your full authentic self with the people in your circle.
But
When you
they give you the space for that.
that
And you have to have that. And oftentimes we cannot turn pain into power because there's so much shame, there's so much condemnation. And
yeah,
the Bible tells us that there's no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus. So that's for you to ask yourself, are you in Christ Jesus? Because if
yeah,
you are, there should be no condemnation. There's grace for that. And he heals us. And
absolutely.
that's where we fell at. We become stagnant because you surround yourself with your turn up friends. And again, after you've had all your spirits, who are you? Who are you when you're broken?
Yeah.
Are they
But it's
loving you back to life?
yes, but you yourself have to be so self-aware. You have to understand what self forgiveness is. And then you have to understand, can I be me around you? Or am I being an altered version of me around you? When you can't be with people that allow your health and growth and like your healing journey to be lived out loud, they're not for you. Because if you don't encourage my healing, you're hindering my healing. And a lot of times we are always healing. There's like, and the reason I say we're always healing is because we are always discovering things that we may not know that trigger us along the way. Like, oh, something happened way back when. It don't have to be a childhood. It could be back in your young adulthood. When you are triggered by something, if you're not triggered by it often, you may or may not know you need to heal from the thing because it didn't pop up until now. Like, oh, wait. I kind of remember experience and blah, blah, blah. So, okay, now I need to work on that. Maybe that's why I am very cutoff-ish with people because of this, but I didn't discover that until now. So when I say you're always healing, it's because you're always rediscovering yourself, not just, oh my God, I'm just a bag of healing. At some point, healing should stop. No, I think healing is always forever happening, just like you are forever growing and you are forever discovering who the heck you are. Do you ever get to a point of knowing you in totality? No, I think we're forever learning. You know what I mean? Like, you should know your essence. You should know your foundation. You should know your core. But the little nuances of yourself that come out along the way, no, you don't always know that. That's why you are always growing and changing. And when you're in relationship with people, they should have the capacity to grow and change with you. When you're choosing that spouse, you should be discovered. Do you have the capacity to grow and change with me? I'm not going to be this woman today in 5 years, and I'm not going to be her in 40 years. So whoever I am in 5. So you have to have the capacity to grow and change with me. And if growing and changing is not in your wheelhouse, it's not on your agenda, then me and you shouldn't be together.
And we have to apply that to our friendships.
A hundred
We
percent.
ju- like we have to be so serious about at this point. I made a TikTok earlier about protecting your forgiveness because oftentimes, sometimes people have done things so egregious that you have done the work to forgive, but those around you have not. Those are not the people that can continue on the journey. You don't ever need anyone reminding you of how someone broke you. That's a dangerous place to be in because when they take you back there, are you in a place where you could snap easily? Are you at a place where it's like, oh, now I want to go seek revenge? You have to surround yourself with people who understand the power of your forgiveness, what was released when you decided to let that thing go. And that's how you turn that pain into purpose, where you have people who are cheering for you and rooting for you as you're sharing your testimony without tears, as you're going back into the same gutter that you were saved from. They're not judging you. They are encouraging you, pushing you, knocking on doors with you so that way they open for you to continue to grow and flourish and become all that God created for you to be. That's how you turn that pain into purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to, man, when I think about just the phrase turning pain into purpose, the first thing I really think about is why, right? It's the why behind my pain. And when I understand the why behind my pain, sometimes it allows me to say, you know what? It was worth it. It makes me think about the Fantasia song, It Was Necessary.
Yeah.
Girl, don't do it. I see. So,
Listen, when I tell you, and people don't understand because it hurt like hell.
yeah,
But now I'm able to go back and go grab some sisters, not just one,
yeah,
grab them, put it out there and grab them, reel them in, bring them back in. We all coming out better. You don't have to stay there, baby girl. Let me tell you, but you got to be honest when you go get them.
Yeah.
You have to be honest because this is the thing. We live in this social media world, this technology world. Either you going to tell them the truth or somebody else going to tell them the truth. And this is the thing. You have to get to a place where you're tired of people narrating your testimony. It's yours. How you going to come here? I don't need nobody ad-libbing. I don't need you narrating. And that part wasn't necessarily how that went. So let me give them the truth so real healing and deliverance could take place because you missed the real important part. Like
Yeah.
those narrators, they don't necessarily get it right.
Yeah. And it's more so like, who can tell your story better than you?
Absolutely.
It's your story. Even the other people that were a part of the story won't tell your story better than you. You know what I mean? They're telling their version. Their, perception
It's
is their reality. So if they perceive that thing to be minute and minor and not that big of a deal, that's their reality. But if it was a big deal to you, it's a big deal.
it is.
And that's your perception. It's your reality. So you have to tell your story. So turning your pain into purpose simply says, you know what? I'm not going to allow the pain to keep me penalized. I'm not going to allow the pain to keep me pent down. I'm not going to allow it to rule my destination. And so I'm going to make it have purpose and I'm going to make it serve me because it came for a reason. No matter if that reason is something you desire it to be, it still was for a reason. And you have to take it and say, you know what? That's why I tell people, yeah, you were dealt a deck of cards for your life, and you may not like the cards that you get. When you play spades, it's like, dang, I don't like this deck of cards you dealt me. This hand you dealt me, I don't like it. But if you know how to play it, if you know how to put them down the right way, if you understand that the other cards that all the other players have that equal to 52, and you say, okay, if I got these, I know what they got too, right? But I'm going to play my hand to the best
That's
of
it.
my ability. You get out of life what you put into it.
You can. And you have to find power in your voice. So often, when you are victimized and then you become that victor, you still struggle with finding your voice. You have to find your voice with such boldness and authenticity. You have to make it different because we live in this society where everyone is telling a story, but it's not yours.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, whatever doors God has for you to turn your pain into purpose, those doors will remain the same. Whatever opportunities He has for you, those opportunities will remain the same.
Absolutely.
Nothing that He has destined for you is going to change. Now, if you're walking in disobedience, that's different. That's different. But if you are going after it wholeheartedly with boldness again and authenticity, God is going to make sure everything come to pass. Every promise spoken over your life will be fulfilled. Not because we're all that, not because we're perfect, but because He's a man that He shall not lie. And He's not about to go repent. Who He going to repent to? Who does He repent to? So He got to make it good. If
Yeah.
He said it, He has to make it good.
Yep.
He has to. There's no other option. There's no failure in Him. Now, there's failure in us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just want the listeners to understand that the trauma you may have experienced as a child domestically, or the trauma that you may have had as an adult that you have exposed your children to, still has a place to become from pain to power, from pain to purpose, from pain to prosperity. Like, you have the option to turn it from pain to positivity, no matter what that looks like. So when you identify the trauma or the pain, that you look at it for its purpose. Why did I go through this? Regardless if it was a choice made by you or if it was something placed onto you by someone else, you are now in control. If it was something that happened in childhood, yes, you cannot control what your parents placed you in, but you can control how you respond to the memories and the triggers of that experience. You do not have to say, you know what, I'm going to wallow in my pain because I didn't cause it. You may not have caused it. However, you are the one experiencing it now. It's coming to you now in some shape, form, or fashion, and you now have the responsibility to do something about it. It's on you.
You do. And I think about just look at all the different foundations that have started literally from trauma because someone experienced it and said, it stops with me. Enough is enough. I want to be the voice. Most definitely in our community, whether it rehab services, NAAA, we have our own version of everything. Domestic violence, sexual abuse. You have people who were raised in foster care making moves. Everything that was set to destroy us, we literally find a way to make a whole. When I tell, like, the buildings that we are building because of our trauma is just, and I mean, we're a different type of resilient. We are. We are a different type of resilient. And to those who may not be on that resilient side yet, this is not to degrade you or make you feel less than. This is really to encourage you. Because I don't want anybody listening feeling like, well, I'm not there yet, but there's hope for you.
Yeah.
There is a ton of hope. Connect with women who have like-minded goals as you. Allow them to push you and allow them to hold you accountable. When you're wrong, you're wrong, and when you're right, you're right.
Yeah.
You're not gonna grow if you don't have anyone holding you accountable. Because sometimes we sit in our own mess and it stinks. And then we get comfortable and then it start to feel like sinking sand. And then your head is barely above it. So yeah, it takes a whole lot.
It does. And steps to getting out of it starts with accountability,
It,
right? Starts with understanding how I got here and then creating a plan to get out.
it
You have to know that you're in it. A lot of times if you're blinded by not acknowledging the fact that you're in it, it makes it difficult to get out
they're
because
not
you're
gonna like
excusing being there. And you must, one, acknowledge that you are. Two, once you've acknowledged it, say, okay, I forgive you and provide you grace for being in a place you don't belong. But three, here's the plan to get up out of here.
this not gonna be a
Find
popular
right. Go ahead.
this is not gonna be a popular view, but because I know everybody want to be on vacation, bootcation, but you come out better when you do a season of genuine singleness.
Oh,
There's no there's no one competing for your time in healing. You find out more about yourself when you're not searching for what you think is missing. When you are literally doing the work in therapy, building community in church, building community out in the community, so that way you have people who are there for you. When you don't have some, in a lot of cases, um, the one of the biggest distractions is the desire to want to be in a relationship because you'll never get to know the real you as long as you're giving yourself the broken pieces of you. I always say, remember, Guy had the song, I'm giving you a piece of my love.
mm-hmm.
And honestly, until most of us heal, that's all we have to give somebody is literally a piece. And then you have to get tired of spreading those few little pieces out
Yeah,
because that gets
absolutely.
exhausting.
I mean, but what are you really giving, right? Whatever that piece is, like, what is it?
And
Because it
and
ain't really worth much
and in
because
the
you're not
most
giving yourself nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is why I preach self love so hard and heavy because there's no way you can be in a relationship providing any level of love and you don't love yourself. Like, you think it's false. If y'all don't hear nothing else, a relationship that you're in and you don't have a relationship with yourself is a false relationship. It is very facade. It is very fake. That song "Fake Love," that's what that is. That's what you giving.
I'm gonna
Because
have to
there's
listen to
no
it.
way I can love you and I don't love me. There's no way. And what you really are doing is the imagination that you oh, image. Oh, okay, Jesus. It's the imagination of what you want your love life to look
It
like
look
that
like.
you are providing without really experiencing it. You are just in dress rehearsal. You are sitting up on a stage within this relationship, providing a falsehood of what looks like should be what you should be doing. So, in other words, oh man, I love the way they post. Oh, wait. They posted if I can see 50 million videos of everybody giving men the five senses gifts, the smell, touch, taste, the five senses. Everybody's
Yes.
giving a man these five senses gifts. So,
Oh,
because it's now a trend, anything that's a trend that you participate in, is it really for you or is it what you think everybody wants and desires? When you go do it for your man and he probably is excited for it, blah, 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 because, oh, thank you. You gave me 5 items, 5 things. You made this big deal for me. But was that really you? Is that really the way you wanted to love him out loud? Is that what he desired? We have to get out of the habit of doing what is trendy and start doing what is me.
I don't think people have their own identity anymore. Well, some people. People have literally allowed social media to cloud their brains, their heart, their mind, their body parts. I mean, when I tell you the stuff, I'm like, you, the, it, you, you know, it's a sad day when you have men in gray sweatpants and women in dresses, things out here just thinking for a click or a like or a reshare. I have never seen so many princess
Just,
men in the world. Like the world is full of princesses now in both genders. And
just
I'm
to,
not even talking about the homosexuals. I'm just talking about men who are so needy and thirsty for attention because they need to heal.
just to get followers.
But that's not what we're talking about. Look, I'm like, that's not what we're talking about. So yeah, I think to help you close, because look, I'm like, wait a minute, yeah. I think some key things to make sure that you are doing is you need a village to hold you accountable. You need to make sure that your boundaries are good and make sure that you're not compromising in areas that you have learned your self value and your self worth in. Make sure that you, as they say, make sure you standing on the business. If you know what you want, you don't have to compromise to get it. The first one that come along may look right, may smell right, but is that for you? Has he even done any healing work? Cause we tired of the pet projects. I done played with enough dogs and then took my flea baths. I'm good. I've done that. I done build enough of the. I done been to the Build a Man
Now
store.
build a
I
bear.
done tried that. Yes, I
Yes.
done tried to Build a Man and it didn't work. So at this place, it's just like you really have to prepare your heart and mind for the one that God has for you. He may not be 6'5". He may be 5'11".
Yeah.
He
But
may not,
the ultimate thing though with all of that is if you have aligned yourself and prepared you for who that person is, when you see them, when they come into your space, you will know it. Just like the Bible say, my sheep.
know my voice.
Okay. So you don't have to worry if this is the one or not. If you've done the work for you, when he show up, he's going to be in alignment with you. I wrote a book. My very first book was I Married My Father, Understanding How DNA Plays a Part in Choosing the Right Mate.
Oh,
That book talked about learning who the heck you are. It didn't matter what relationship you had with your daddy, because a lot of us have daddy issues. It simply meant, do you know who you are? And if you know who you are, when that man comes, you're going to be able to identify him. Aligned. Arranged marriages work simply because the father is choosing himself to replace himself.
it's him.
So when you have an arranged marriage, it's like, ooh, right? So that daddy did all the work he needed to do to say, yep, this man will align well with my child, because the peace in me that I gave my child, he has in himself. And so that simply
I
means
like that.
that what's in you, no matter how your relationship is with your daddy, you should find in that man, because it has to connect. We are sockets and we are plugs, and both things have to connect in order to create electricity. The problem is y'all are taking Canadian sockets and American plugs, trying to put them together and thinking they're supposed to work, and they don't. So you go forcing them, and they give you a little energy, but not the one that you could have that would be amazing and overpowering. And so I'm saying to you, as you turn your pain into purpose, that you are simply turning yourself into a positive light, understanding who you are, where you come from, and where you're going. If you don't understand those things, there's no need to be engaging in domestic relations. So we're not talking about just domestic abuse. We're talking about domestic relations, because all of it is domestic, right? We're getting together, we're developing relationships, but the main relationship you need to have is the one with you. So, Kia, thanks for joining me, girl. I love communicating with you. I'm going to find another episode just so we can hang out. But
Sound like a deal.
because we keep key. But I want to say, y'all, remember, love yourself so much that the love from others is a bonus. If you need assistance, if you would like to join the Reclaim Your Power coaching program, hit me an email at coaching@IamTammyNicole.com. I am willing and able and super excited to help you. Have a good day.
That's a wrap on another episode of Loving Me Before I Love You. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a second to show your support by subscribing and leaving a positive rating and review on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Stay connected with Tammy. Make sure you're following her on Instagram and TikTok at Coach Tammy Nicole. If you like to work with Tammy or have any questions you'd like her to answer, please head over to www.IamTammyNicole.com. Until next time, always remember to love yourself so much that the love from others is a bonus.